for AI workloads, we need an infrastructure that's 1,000,000 times more performant. Because, for example, in the OPML case, you do need to store a model on chain if you want it to be fully decentralized and fully censorship resistant. Because you don't want somebody like AWS coming and saying like, oh, this open source model is against our license terms and you have to use our model. So therefore we're going to kick it off. Well, you need a decentralized kind of censorship resistant system to manage that. And so our kind of key insight is that we need to really segment for the photo. Really need to segment essentially the data publishing and the data storage lane. And so that's why we started on the storage layer aspect, so that when you store data, it's now 80% cheaper than even the centralized solutions like AWS. So not only is it comparable from a performance standpoint, we did some tests recently where we did kind of a fine-tuning with streaming data utilizing our system and compared it to a centralized system. Within about, I think it was about a minute, it caught up and there was almost no overhead. That means there's no performance degradation anymore by using a decentralized system. That's like a major breakthrough. Cheaper, same performance, and by the way, disaster recovery is built in because it's fully decentralized. That means that your objects or data is stored in multiple locations. That means if one of those locations goes down, you can still get it from the other locations. And so that's another nice property of decentralized solutions. And so that's why the data side is so important to get right initially. And so that's how we were able to drive 1,000,000 times cost improvement is through that specific insight.
Fantastic. So Jarrod, we know that NEAR has been fostering a developer-friendly ecosystem, and as the ecosystem head, can you share some examples of innovative AI projects being built on NEAR, and how are you helping them succeed?
Amazing.
Okay, we're good. Hopefully I should be able to answer this question. And real quickly, just to echo what Jarrod shared, can't echo decentralized storage enough. It's not as dynamic of a product offering at times. It doesn't always pop on crypto Twitter, but it's so fundamental to the building blocks of AI. So just want to echo that as well. But NEAR, and actually getting a bit more tactical. So we've taken a two-pronged approach. I won't repeat what Alex Skidnoff shared earlier. We are focused on both growing, scaling an AI native ecosystem and building our own AI native product tooling. I can talk a little bit more about that tooling later. On the ecosystem side, we are working really with teams at all layers of the stack. One of our founders actually sitting here, Whitney Gibbs from Ringfence, who's really focused on IP ownership as well. And so we've taken an approach and said, if we're actually going to build an AI native ecosystem, we need to really actually think about meaningfully working with different teams at different layers. So there's a team called Pond, which is using graph neural networks to build a crypto-native foundational model. Hyperbolic, which is a GPU cloud and inference provider. I mentioned Ringfence. Exhibits, which is another essentially decentralized compute provider for our ecosystem. We've really focused on growing the number of foundational infrastructure use cases in order to really spark dynamic and novel applications, which I think is something that everyone in this space is really looking for. Where we've been the most excited in working with teams, particularly building agents. The OLAS agent ecosystem, if you're not familiar, they were one of the first kind of crypto-native agent builders. Bitsed, which is historically an NFT marketplace, but has built out a number of crypto-native agents on NEAR as well. And then lastly, a team called Nevermind, which is really focused on agent-to-agent payments. A pretty new paradigm, but essentially, if we assume that we can give an agent a wallet, what might it do across chains? And so really these are some of the early use cases that we have been both incubating and meaningfully supporting at scale in order to actually have an AI native ecosystem. And lastly, we make that stick, and it's great because you say, hey, it's awesome, but how is the ecosystem differentiated, right? At the end of the day, it's predominantly relationship-based. We differentiate this through our AI native product tooling, which essentially, as you heard from Alex Skidnoff earlier, is called the NEAR AI Hub. It's a very straightforward middleware product. What we focus on is discoverability of compute data sets, and agents, right? These are all kind of the foundational things that you need as a developer to build an AI native application. What we found is there's a pretty high technical barrier to entry if you're trying to understand, well, what storage provider should I use? Should I think about using OPML, right? How do we, as Near, in this AI native ecosystem, actually aggregate that in a way that people can build faster and decrease the amount of complexity that's needed to build at the application layer? There's a lot that still needs to be true in order for that to really scale. But that's been our approach to both working with teams at all layers of the stack, but also building our own product tooling and product suite in order to enable that in a unique way.
Fantastic, fantastic. Kartin, do you have anything to add?
Oh, we'll just pass it back.
All right. Yeah, so I want to bring up a recent development in the general AI space and secure point of views. So as many of our audiences know, OpenAI has recently launched ChatGPT 01, aka Strawberry, and that is by far the most advanced and capable reasoning model that can outperform human experts in various sciences, and also indicating a paradigm shift in scaling laws from training to inference. So I want to ask you about this recent development and how it would impact the construction of decentralized AI infrastructure. Yeah, Kartin, please, sir.
Oh, no, I'm just like... So I think like, it's gonna be hard for decentralized AI because like, you just do not have enough H100 to train such model, right? Like, so I know recently Elon Musk tried to do like 100,000 H100 GPU factory, try to train the strongest AI model in human history, but the reality is like for decentralized AI, like we don't even have like 100,000 H100 totally in like the whole crypto world. So like, so that's why I think like, we just need to wait for, because the reason why Elon Musk can do it, right, fundamentally is because the financial system behind traditional financial system is stronger than crypto economy ecosystem. And so that's why like you can use equity, use your stock to raise such amount of money to build a data center, but it's just pretty much impossible. You use crypto to raise this amount of money to buy 100,000 H100, which estimate at least $10 billion, right? And so like cash in US dollar. And so like so we just need to wait for decentralized economy system grow bigger than the centralized economy system. That will be the prerequisites for decentralized AI to be stronger than the centralized AI, right? And but I think that's actually amazed me by how strong the new ChatGPT, like how much math it can perform. It means that reasoning is just a part of emergence. Like, so before that, people was like, before this like ChatGPT old model, people will think that maybe the reason why human can do like reasoning inference in your brain is because like some like unknown force, some unknown like phenomena there that make us be able to do it. If you simply just add up more computation power, it won't be replicatable on the AI system. But like ChatGPT new model proved that like it just like it's really normal that you can do reasoning when your model size is, when your network is big enough. The emergence of intelligence is just capable to do it once the model is big enough. So it's really, the game become really, this is like the competition between decentralized AI and centralized AI become really simple right now. It's just like how big is like the decentralized economy is and how big the centralized economy is. So if the decentralized economy is smaller than centralized economy, then decentralized AI is definitely smaller than centralized AI. But if it's the opposite, then it will be decentralized AI stronger. But like, yeah, but crypto is growing really fast. So I think like in 10 years, after 10 years, like we have chance.
Love to add some thoughts as well. Definitely just strawberries. Just kidding. referring to the model. But if you think about the human body, like what is it fundamentally? It's basically a neural network plus a bunch of sensors. So as the neural network grows large enough, then it should be able to do reasoning, especially if it trains on millions of data sources. And so it makes sense that eventually we get to AGI in this kind of perspective. Now, I totally agree with what Kartin said. I think there's advantages in the crypto space that we can use. So I read a study, I think this was maybe 2 years ago, that all of Google's data centers 2 years ago were only 1% of the hashing power of Bitcoin. So if crypto can do one thing, it can really coordinate different types of resources. So if we can figure out things like decentralized training, for example, and recently there was a pretty interesting research paper by News Research that's doing a lot of work on this, where they basically figured out a way to decrease bandwidth requirements for decentralized training by 100x. And so that's now stepping into a direction where we can start using heterogeneous devices that are consumer grade that can start training models in a decentralized fashion. Imagine unlocking all of the consumer grade type of hardware that's there, or even latent hardware that's in data centers, and then training models off of that. So I think crypto is really good at that, and once we figure that out, I think we've had a really strong kind of fighting chance. The second thought I have is, right now the centralizing force is, let's just throw more money at the problem, let's train bigger models, more parameters, but nobody's taking the other end of the approach. What if we train more, smaller expert models, and then use middleware to combine them all? Would we have better results doing that? I think so. And to some extent, that's already used in a mixture of experts and some of these AI models as well. But I think that's also an advantage that the decentralized AI world can definitely exploit.
Yeah, I'm going to be super brief and just build off what was already shared. I think to just add one more layer to what Michael just articulated there is what crypto enables is an incentive network to make all of that happen, right? If we believe in a world of highly small and specialized models that are enabled by reasoning and chain of thought, which chain of thought is, the way I explain it to myself is, if you ever had to do long division in your head versus long division on a piece of paper, long division on a piece of paper is chain of thought, like you're explaining things step by step. And so why that's different for a foundational model is you don't necessarily need pre-training compute or training compute in order to do that. Pre-training and training compute is you're telling a model to memorize a set of facts, right, and make connections over those set of facts. Reasoning and chain of thought compute is simply just inference compute, right? The model is learning in context in real time. And so that allows you to use perhaps a 7 billion or 70 billion parameter model using chain of thought, right? And so it really points to what Michael and Kartin already shared, to be able to incentivize a distributed network to do that, whether that's on the compute side or even on the training side, that's where I think it's really, really powerful, and carving out a niche of value that I think really starts to transcend and compete, despite hyperscalers and big tech continuing to throw a lot of money at this.
Amazing, amazing. I think that really opens up the imagination of the future decentralized AI. Due to time limit, I would like to end this panel with one last question. So you are all excellent industry leaders in the decentralized AI infrastructure space, but I would like to ask, in the next 5 years, what do you see as the most promising consumer-facing applications? Can you share your visions for that?
We don't need to wait for 5 years. I think like this month we can have AIGC NFT. So like I think AIGC NFT will be the #1 use case for AI on blockchain. The reason why is really simple, right? Like before, if you want to launch an NFT, you need to find an artist to make the art first. So the artist maybe be able to make 100 or 200 or 3,000, probably the next, for the NFT collection. But like if you use AI to do it, you can generate 10,000 images in just one click on blockchain. So I think I call this thing is like inference asset. So that like you'll be able to have like a high volume, high quantity of the speculation asset on blockchain, and that is generated by AI. And because AI is just really good at that, generate a new content. And so And also there's some randomness there. So some FT might look really good, some might look really bad. And so like you don't know until you do it, execute the inference. So I think AIGC FT will definitely the #1 use case, which is this month. And then so in 5 years, okay, in 5 years nobody know what's gonna happen, right? We don't even know if quantum computer will be a real thing in 5 years. So let's assume this quantum computer is not a real thing, then in 5 years I think we already hit the ceiling of like how strong AI model can be with like the Turing computer, right? And so which is like pretty much the ChatGPT of like over ChatGPT, I guess. It's like the two. So now they have a 1 doctor PhD degree, right? So in 5 years I think they might have 2 degrees. Okay. So like, but what if quantum computer is the real thing, right? What if it is? Then I think like we might be able to use like the AI model on some crazy stuff. Like we can use AI model to rule a DeFi protocol. Like use AI model to do lending decision. Use AI model to like build a blockchain that can improve itself, right? That's even crazier, right? Imagine a decentralized blockchain that can change their own code, execution environment by themselves, like no human involved, and that will be like really crazy, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with this idea of having fully autonomous organizations, just AI agents running that. But in 5 years, what I'd love to see is humanoid robots that are governed by blockchains, where the agents inside those robots have to adhere to certain parameters, otherwise it gets slashed or put out of production. I would love to see that. I would not want to see humanoid robots controlled by centralized entities. It's very dangerous.
Hard to predict what would come in 5 years. I think one of the use cases that I'm personally most excited about are intelligent marketplaces. In other words, if we assume inference costs continue to go down and our infrastructure around agents continues to get better at the pace at which it has, there's an opportunity where we think about agents being able to have a wallet and transact on our behalf. Imagine if Amazon was an intelligent marketplace and you could delegate $100 to your personal agent that understands your preferences, understands your taste, and is able to mediate or barter on your behalf with another agent. I think we're quickly approaching a world where the predominant end user on the internet will likely be an agent. And so thinking about the payment rails for that to coexist and really create value for people a bit far away, probably reaching with that use case. But I think that's part of our job is to reach a little bit or else we wouldn't get there. So that's something I think really excited about on the agent side. I think it's probably one of the biggest blank canvases that exists in AI today.
All right, very interesting. In the next 5 years, probably there will be no in-person panels like this. It'll probably just like AI agents like chatting, discussing. All right, so time is up, and thank you all, gentlemen, for this inspiring and very exciting conversation about decentralized AI infrastructure. And thanks to the audience, and I hope you enjoyed the day. Thank you.